Today on The Riff, Jeremy and Justin sit down to discuss Give Back and the Dream Center. Naturally, they also talk about skating rinks. We hope today is helpful. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to another episode of
The Riff.
We are glad that you're joining us today, wherever you're joining us, however you're joining us. It's a big deal that you are joining us. And so, Justin, today, we're just thankful to be here. Last episode, we talked about gratitude. We talked about smiles.
Do you smell that?
No. I don't think I'm grateful for that.
No, it's like a perfume.
Oh, no, I am. Is that you?
No, I just have got that whiff. So I know I've interrupted you. You're telling, the kind listeners of last week.
I'll tell you why.
You were doing an awesome intro.
And our new studio is right next to the men's bathroom. Oh. And the men's bathroom has an automated, when it doesn't smell fresh, has an automated fresh dispenser.
Well, it smells like an island breeze
So
right
whenever
now.
it smells like an island breeze, it means it just recently smelled like swamp. And so I don't know who's coming out. As a matter of fact, we can take the cameras. We're about to hear a flush.
It smells delightful right now.
It is delightful.
I was just a little concerned. But keep going. You were doing an awesome job. You were like, last week on the Riff, like gratitude.
Yeah, gratitude. Oh,
all that.
smiling.
People were like, what? I gotta listen to that. And then I interrupted you. That's my fault. I was just really sidetracked. And I didn't want to be thinking about that the whole episode.
I'm living in the present. And so that matters to me. And
you said that last week.
Yeah. So today I think I want to walk through a conversation I was having earlier about the Dream Center, but it wasn't really about the Dream Center. I think it's about life, and the Dream Center is a great parallel for it. But I want to talk about having a value, being on mission to live this value out, and then seeing the different methodologies that are used. And so I want to use this idea of give back, this idea of what has turned into a Dream Center. I want us to walk through the history. One of the reasons for the Riff is for us to be able to talk a little bit further about things that we talk about on the weekends, whether it's serious, so sometimes we'll do that. Sometimes it's just us riffing about either questions that come in or just different things in our gut. Other times it's stories. Which side note, several weeks ago, we released a story on the Caldwells, a 2-part story.
Oof.
My goodness. Matter of fact, if you missed that, you have the advantage to be able to listen to both episodes back to back, which I think would be helpful because a lot of people, it was released week 1. It took us probably an hour and a half of conversation to record those episodes. And they did such a phenomenal job of sharing their heart and being so vulnerable. And it really, for a lot of people's experience, it places you right there in the story. And it makes you grapple with the pain that people go through. And as they tell their story, I'm sure it helps us feel ours. But that week gap between episode 1 and episode 2, there's no ribbon there.
Right.
So you just have to wrestle with it. It was powerful.
Yeah.
But a lot of times on the Riff, we'll share stories of North Pointers, whether it's just their journey or they have a unique experience. But then also we want to use the Riff as a platform to be able to talk about missional items that are important to North Point. And one of that is giving back. And so I'm going to ask you to kind of walk through. You've got more history at North Point than I do. Walk through as best as you know it. So North Point was planted in 2005. Correct?
2003.
Yes. 2003.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
man. Yes. See, I wasn't here.
You weren't here.
That is a very Jeremy-centric way of telling the history. I don't know. I don't know. I guess some people got together before I got here. 2003, and you joined North Point as an attendee.
Yeah.
What era?
We got here in 06, 07 is kind of when we showed up. So they had moved out of the movie theater.
So 3 years into existence.
Yeah.
And a good 5 years before I was around.
Yeah.
When I got here, I remember this idea of give back was something very unique to North Point, and I had never been at a church that was this passion about giving back. So kind of give us a little bit. What do you see as the history of Give Back in North Point from the day of North Point's inception through those first several years?
I think give back has been the DNA of North Point from the beginning. And from the beginning, I mean, from when we started, like that's the thing that stood out to us. And what was so, very much, if you want to, like a God thing, yes. When you came on the scene, you had the same exact DNA, and maybe even stronger, of making sure that we are giving back to the community, that we are in the community, that we're not creating a subculture to help the community. It's like, no, we are the community, and we will show Jesus as well as we can. So it was really interesting to see that transition as you came into a space. I believe you and Leanne just magnified it. So when we got here, it was called Impact. That's what it was called.
And the logo, it said, I act.
I act. Adorable.
That's pretty clever.
I never wore the shirt, but adorable. Just adorable.
It was almost a Disney font.
Very, very similar. Yeah, it was weird. I don't know. But it started with, and I say it started, I mean the programmatic and systematic approach to how we provide help and hope, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about when it started. They would do just events. So it would be hey, we're going to, there was a thing where 52 Unforgettable Weekends was kind of a slogan. Yeah. So we sold gas for 52 cents to single moms, 52 cents a gallon.
So it's kind of marketing?
Yeah. So it's also marketing, but it's also helping and giving back. Yeah. People are talking about it. So that's kind of like, those are a couple of moments that I remember.
Okay, time out. So the church had a specific gas station.
Yes.
And single moms could come there anytime during that day.
Yes.
For 52 cents a gallon.
Yep. Right off of Chestnut. Phil Swanson was the contact for that. And
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil. And that was, so just an idea, right? So these just ideas popped up. We would take 200 people to a school and just paint. And these were just randomized pieces just kind of throughout the year. And then it soon became a thing that they called Impact. And I say they, I wasn't on staff. I wasn't really even volunteering at that time. And that was a little bit more of a systematic approach to how do we provide help and hope systematically, and not just these one-off events type of pieces. And that evolved into Second Saturday. And what Second Saturday is, get this, every second Saturday, you see where that lines up?
Okay. I was thinking it was for a second on Saturday.
No. Okay. Second Saturday of the month, there was a project that...
How many months had a second Saturday?
12.
Wow.
So every even February.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's shorter.
Oh, no. And they didn't care.
They still have to?
No, I said, you know what, Second Saturday, we're going to do it. And there would be a community partner. And we would join forces with them in whatever way they needed practical help or assistance. Yeah. And that could be packing meals, or that could be painting, or that could be cleaning grounds. There were so many projects that were done throughout those years. And then old Jody Glazner came on the scene. Not now. All right. And she just had a heart for all of that. So she was in students, but always kind of hung out in that zone. And people kind of just looked to her as kind of the pseudo leader. Like, oh, you're the one that really has passion for this, right? And then you came on the scene. So we're going through all of this. We end up changing it to Give Back. So that's kind of where you come on the scene. And and then Jody becomes the Give Back director. Is that under you? Is that correct? Yeah. That was with you here.
Yeah, so Jody, when I came, was the youth pastor. I think the only one standing at Springfield. Mm-hmm. And I think there had been, a bunch of transition. And so she was there, and so we, as a matter of fact, we have even a staff member or two, a couple staff member who they have shouted out Jody as their youth pastor as one of the most monumental.
And I love the look on people's faces when they say that, because they're like, "Wait, what? What do you mean, Jody? No, Jody does the Dream Center,
right?" Yeah, long before she was known as Dream Center. She's a great youth pastor. But yeah, so then I remember I started giggling because I remembered we were looking for a give back director. Jody wasn't even our first give back director when we employed a give back director when I was here. We had one of the funniest looking back job interviews, probably not for any of them who were in there, is you remember we had a group job interview where it was like a survival game against each other. I feel, and some of them still go to North Point. I always just want to apologize because if they didn't get it, that's awkward,
Sorry.
But we really believed in this, saying, okay, we want this to be, not that we want it to be one person's job, but we believe that this is such a big value now that we want somebody whose number one priority when they wake up and when they go to bed is thinking through give back. And so then when we had a transition of our give back director, and I don't know if we had one or two different give back directors, but when there was a transition, I remember having the conversation with Jody of saying, Jody, I think this lines up with your gift set. Would you consider this? And man, from that point on, she was our give back director. And then for several years, she was now providing kind of a central focus of what does give back look like. So it was the calendar, it was all of our campuses, making sure, she would say it this way, making sure that we aren't liars at North Point.
I love that. Yes.
When we say that we believe in what happens outside these walls, that we would actually do that. And so again, second Saturdays continued for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And then there would be give back blitzes, right?
Yep.
Spring break, week-long things and different ways. Methods kept changing because one, it became harder and harder to find partners that would be able to accommodate 300 volunteers in one setting, and we never wanted our method to change our mission, and allowed our mission to always flow through different methods. And then I remember we had a conversation. Once I went to the mayor of Springfield and scheduled an appointment with him, and I remember going up and meeting with him, and I said, "Hey, I know that you've got a lot on your plate. There are many, many different projects you have. What are some of the projects that you feel like, man, I wish we had help? And I wonder if there's any of those projects that align with what we're called to do." And again, it's not like I didn't go up to the mayor and say, "Hey, you tell us what you want our church to do." But I wanted to know what's on his gut and what if some of the things that we were called to do would fit. And at that point, they were starting this focus on something called Zone 1 of Springfield. It's the northwest part of Springfield. You don't hear that terminology very much anymore, but for about 5 years, you heard that a lot in our local government is Zone 1. It was the most identified as the most underserved area in all of Springfield for whatever reason, whether it was schools, whether it was grocery stores, whether it was community resources. And so what they were finding when you're looking at different case studies is if someone was underserved, while we have a phenomenal community with hundreds of nonprofits, it would be a nonstop job to go from a city bus or city transportation, public transportation, to go from space to space to space because there wasn't a collection, a center of resources. And so he was talking about Zone 1. Obviously, North Point, our Springfield campus is really close to Zone 1. And so we started thinking through, okay, what would we be able to do to serve an ongoing collection of resources? Jody is Give Back Director. She was very familiar with the idea of serving in a neighborhood. As a matter of fact, I think she preached a message on this, was the first time it really kind of jumped out to me that she started talking about, man, we need to be good neighbors, not just good event people, not just good distributors, but we need to be good neighbors. And what does it look like to go back and check on the people we helped? And she was using the story of the Good Samaritan in that way. It was powerful. And I think along that time, she was really starting to, whether confidence in a vision that she'd always had, or just this new sense of urgency of we need to be more than event people. That not that we wouldn't do events, but that our next method needs to embrace a community and neighborhood standard. And so we started thinking about it, walking through what does it look like to be a dream center. We're familiar with dream centers; they're all over the nation, and they're loosely connected, but and they each have different niches. But what would a dream center type of thing look like in Springfield? And so then it was. I remember Choco, who spoke at the Dream Center a year ago at the annual event. I was talking to him, and he had run a dream center. And this is something we had been talking about with Jody. And so he was at the office one day, we were talking. And so I said, oh, he's talking about dream center and whatnot. So I said, hey, you got to meet Jody. Jody, come in here. And Jody, listening to him, she's just like the story of he started the Chicago Dream Center. And she's like, that's what she wants to do. And so she's just like, ready for action. She had that, I've got this fuel inside of me and it needs to come out right now vibe. And the sense of justice. And Jody's great at this. Like I know if it was obvious, and I think Choco even said that, Jeremy, if you guys don't start a dream center, she's going to go start a dream center. And so she's born to do this, which obviously now that she does it, it's obvious. So we knew that we had the right leader. We knew that the mission of North Point to give back was stronger than ever. We knew that the need for the community, it was like a glove fit. There were people who are on the other side of this mandate, this mission, that really would be blessed by it. And so we thought, okay, now we just need resources. It was also a time in North Point's history we didn't have a lot of resources. You remember those times?
I remember those times. Yeah, I remember those times. I do. Yeah.
It really, we had to be super scrappy, and we had a lot of ideas. We just didn't have a lot of money at all. And so then we're going to have a dream center. And here's what we identified. We needed a kitchen and we needed some type of gym. Because if we had those two things, we felt like we felt like Zone 1 was all about a lot of working parents who needed help with their kids. And if we were to come alongside and serve them best, our dream center would look different than an LA Dream Center, than a Chicago Dream Center. The need for Zone 1 was, how do we come alongside the parents and help with kid programming, help with some other family resourcing? That's what our focus would be. And so we thought, man, if we could provide a bunch of opportunities for community and food and distribution there, that would be helpful. And if we can connect with the kids, we think a gym is that. Well, then we had this random email from Hamlin Baptist. And we talked about this in a previous episode too, but that whole journey, and Jody talks about this story, but this whole journey of Hamlin Baptist had this new opportunity to build and move outside of where they'd been forever. And they didn't want to let go of the vision of reaching the community. And so for them, it was imperative that they were able to pass the baton before they moved out of the area. And so they did. They went on this nationwide search for who wants this, what is it, 50,000 square foot building?
Yeah.
Old Baptist building with a ton of classrooms. Who wants this building? Who's going to serve this community the best? And so that God used that opportunity for us, our leadership team. I think Stephanie Anderson was very involved in that, in wordsmithing and creating and organizing. Obviously, Jody, the heartbeat. A lot of our leadership team then had like 2 weeks to put together this proposal to be able to show what would we do if someone gifted us this building. And while it wasn't hard to put together the proposal because it wasn't a new vision.
Well, true or false, the original proposal was from you, and you wanted a skating rink. Is this correct?
Well, that,
or is that just
yes.
kind of a
no,
dream?
That was the verbal proposal. That got shot down.
Right,
it didn't make the.
It didn't make the cut.
Not the one that we picked up from Kinko's. No. I rifled through that. No,
but it is a dream of yours, right? I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, and I think this story inspires that dream to keep.
Keep going.
So the proposal gets sent off, mailed off, and it looks nice. It's spiral bound. Because I was thinking, if I'm going to pick, a proposal, and they're just going to
Don't you
staple the upper left-hand corner.
Don't you dare. Or
think-
butterfly clip it. A bunch of leaf papers everywhere. Or loose leaf papers.
But when it is spiral bound.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that thing. How can they say no? And so we've got all these ideas, like no data to back them up, but all these ideas of what we would do with the Dream Center. And that led to more opportunities to advance as they narrowed down their search of who is the best fit to take over this responsibility of partnering with a neighborhood. And then Jody, and she tells a story, or maybe I tell a story when we were talking with her on an episode of the podcast, but she is such a great communicator, and very present in the room. And so she was able to communicate at the most pivotal time in such a way where it was obvious to everybody in the room this next season, the opportunity to partner with this community is going to be North Point's. And it was a scary day because we thought, okay, now it's a big responsibility. But what we had at the Hamlin building was a warbly gym. Yeah. Warbly?
I think
it was the kind of gym you wouldn't be able to bowl on.
No.
You could play basketball, but it's not regulation.
Tape your ankles.
Yeah.
Yeah, tape your ankles.
And then they had a kitchen. And it was a good kitchen. It was like a good Baptist kitchen.
Yeah.
Right? And so we thought that's the gift. And then a whole lot of hallways with classrooms that we thought we will never use that stuff, but we're willing to take this because we want to, between the gym and the kitchen, we can do a lot of ministry out of that. We can do a Dream Center, and we're going to utilize the gym and the kitchen. And that was a gift from God. It was awesome. But when you look at that gift from God happened because there was a passion, there was a dream, and that dream got developed through conversations, through questions, through opportunities. And North Point was started with this vision, this mission, that it would be a church that gives back. It would be a church of actions, not a church of words. And when you said that's something that I came and spoke to, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't feel that as much as I came and was so impressed with what I saw. I just didn't want to screw it up.
That's so funny you say that.
Because it's for real.
But here's the deal. That's the way you and Leanne lead, is through action. Yeah. And I think that's the keystone to all of the give back elements, that it's like, you can talk about it all you want. You can talk about leadership, and you can talk about coming in here and doing this and doing that. You just came in and you did it, and you got to work. You got your hands dirty with all of us. Like that's the part that people are like, oh, all right, yeah, let's roll. Like this, okay, this family means business. Like, let's go. They're not just going to talk about it. And that's what the Dream Center is. Like it's like, we can talk about help all day. Yeah. Put your hands to it, right? Put your feet to it. So,
people have often said, probably the most common answer we get when someone says, why North Point? It's because it's a place that gives back to the community. And that's the very first thing I noticed about North Point, because I've never been a part of a church that does that. I've been a part of a lot of churches that told people to do that, but never a church that provided that kind of opportunity. And so it was one of the first things because you're known by what your distinctive is, right? And so I think a lot of churches give back. I think they do. But I think the weight of it at North Point is, if we stop doing that, we're done. And we're not going to wait till we have a building. We'll do second Saturdays. We'll do impact. We'll do different events. We'll do big volunteer gatherings. We'll break it up into a whole bunch of smaller gathering volunteer opportunities in the history. And now we have the Dream Center. But the Dream Center is not our delegated way to give back. We must continually give back. And to be honest, it's tougher than ever for us to keep that white hot outside of the Dream Center, because it's really easy for all of our campuses to say, Dream Center's got it. Don't we love Jody and the team? They're awesome. They're the give back. They're the give back section of North Point. That's not true. Though they should lead the way and they model and they're doing an awesome job, is we must always figure out and reinvent what are the new methods to give back. So what does that look like in the future? I don't know. One of the things I'd like to do is I'd like to have, and I had this vision a couple of years ago, and I say vision, I mean idea. So nothing weird. That we would have a give back mobile.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I like that idea where you would have like a big box truck, but the kind that you can like sell churros out of, ice cream cones out of.
Churros. You wouldn't churro?
Yeah.
That's bold.
And if we had a skating rink, it would be the place where you get your sized
for sure.
skates,
For
right? You just
sure.
roll up there, we roll that up. But wouldn't it be cool if we had because if we had a mobile truck, a dream mobile, right? And any of the campuses or ministries could check it out and say, hey, we want to give back in our neighborhood this way. And maybe in Republic, it's at the 4th of July parade, we're rolling up and we're giving everyone, popsicles. Maybe our young adults are checking it out to roll up to Missouri State University and giving out a ton of, toiletry items or whatever it might be. Is every campus, every area has a very custom need. Mm-hmm. And, so will we, will that be a part of it? Will we do Wednesday night dinners? I know Nixa right now is doing Wednesday night dinners.
Yeah.
What's going to happen in Republic? And, we'll always be looking at different things. Some people will say, hey, I miss when our church used to do this. And I'm like, totally cool. Now here's the reality. Here's the data is we have more volunteers that serve in a year than ever before in give back modes between what we do with our programs and the Dream Center. We are serving more people than we ever have. And we're serving people deeper, not just wider. Mm-hmm. And so while there might be different methods that other people have liked over the years because of nostalgia or they just like that method, methods will always change. But what will never change is this idea of giving back. So if you're part of North Point, you're newer to North Point. North Point is not just a place you come and listen to great music and put up with the teaching. North Point is a place where you show up and you hopefully are introduced or you wrestle with truths from Scripture that now we must apply and figure out how do we give back to our community, give back to those around us. And when we stop doing that, I think it's the death of North Point. I mean, that's that. I think North Point will die one day. I think that'd be an interesting.
We're all going to die one day.
We're all going to die one day.
Yeah.
Not a lot of Paul's churches are still going on.
No.
So North Point would, but I don't think North Point needs to die today.
No.
And I think because there's still so much need in our areas, and if we keep giving back, I think it adds a shelf life.
Yeah.
The moment we stop giving back, or if there stops being a need, then we become just a really interesting place to study ancient Near East literature, right? Yeah. And then wrestle with theology, But what if we can continue to serve God's purpose for these areas during this time? So one of the things we think of is when we even think about campuses, like with Republic is our newest campus. We don't think like, man, how many screens can we put up in Republic? Like, man, I bet people in Republic don't know how to get content. Right? We're like, yeah, let us be a community that has a shared purpose of one, understanding Scripture in a way where you don't have to have church background, that it'll be clear when we gather, but it would be powerful when we scatter, that we would be able to now go and do something together with events, with methods, with whatever. So here's what I want us all to be thinking. What's next? How do we serve? How do we take what we have and we give it back in a unique way? And what can we do together that's more powerful than doing individually? And let's do that.
That's great. And you're also, when you say if you're newer to North Point, I'd also say if you're newer to North Point or this whole thing with the Dream Center, annual event.
Yeah.
Go to it.
Yeah.
Like get to it for real.
It'll be this fall.
Yeah. I can't think of a better night to showcase and like really get the mission of what is happening at the Dream Center.
Yeah.
It's just a great night. You get to do a tour. You get to walk through what they're doing in every department, every ministry. And then you get some good food. Yeah. And you get an opportunity to give as well.
Yeah.
It's a mission that is just way bigger than one person.
Yeah.
So it's that I'm telling you, if you haven't gone to the annual event, do it. It's such a helpful moment.
Oh, I wanted, when you said that opportunity to give, it reminded me is that giving, when we give through North Point, when we give to the Dream Center, every penny of that goes towards programming and towards supplies. And it is a gift. I doubt if I'll ever get to heaven and be like, oh man,
bummer.
Why do we give so much? Like, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of guilt in heaven, but I probably would be like, it would look like Schindler's List a little bit, like I could have given more. My watch, right? So not the guilt way, but I just know, like, not only am I reminded every time I hear about the vision that this, and every time I see it in action, that this is worth giving to, I know that when we see the eternal impact of this, we'll be like, we're not going to be bummed that we did it. And like someone had said, they had toured our facility and they asked me about this. And they said, man, you could certainly do a lot with that Dream Center, man. That's beautiful. Well, that's because we've had $1 million gift just for the gym and the kitchen.
Right.
After we started utilizing it.
Right.
So that's why I tell churches, don't wait for $1 million gift to do $1 million idea. You do your $1 million idea right now. And if God wants there to be $1 million gift, when you do $1 million idea, the $1 million gift follows. And God will always provide, but we don't wait for him to provide. He's waiting for us to do. And there's a blessing on the other side of our obedience. And so I think that is a powerful deal is when we are exposed to this, we say, man, God has always brought in the provision because we have never lost the vision, right? Mm-hmm. God, give us the vision. Let's act on this vision. Trust God with provision. And so whether we have a wobbly, warbly gym floor with a 1980s kitchen, or we have a state-of-the-art gym floor that mirrors juries with a awesome industrial kitchen. It doesn't matter. It just means we can do, it matters because we can do more, right? And serve more people, but it's the same vision. So what does Give Back look like in the future? I don't know. But for those of you who are listening and you're North Pointers, I promise you it looks better if you're involved in it. Let's not just go to church. Let's be the church. And how we do that is we get involved in our community. A core value of North Point is that we give back. Whether one day that means we have 10 Dream Centers or 0 Dream Centers because it's a different method, we're fine with that. We just want to identify what is the need, what is our opportunity to come alongside and partner and see what God's going to do with that. I just feel like it'll be a good thing. So it's the book of actions. We see that in the book of Acts, book of actions.
What are you going to call the skating rink?
I think it's going to be called Holy Rollers. just because, and I don't want it to be like it's not for those who aren't holy. Because I'm thinking a Monday we have a secular night. So 6 nights a week it's all Christian tunes. Secular night
could be no rinky, no dinky.
No rinky, no dink. I like that.
I'm just saying. This idea.
I've pitched this in many opportunities.
Oh, for sure.
And then when everyone in the room starts laughing, I'm like, no,
I'm just kidding.
Teasing.
I'm just joking.
But seriously, I think it's going to be in the field at the Springfield campus is what I think. Because a lot of people not only do they. Can you imagine a skating rink buffered by not only a church but a humane society?
That's a dream.
Where else?
That's a dream.
That's
come true.
A planned community development center right there. What else do you need? So, anyway, hey, thanks for listening to the Riff. This is a good one.
That's a good one.
All right. Skate on. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.